Okay, this is Fort Sumter. The fighting starts. The American Civil War begins. Shelling begins April 12, 1861 at 4:30 a.m. After a 33-hour bombardment by Confederate cannons, Union forces surrendered Fort Sumter in South Carolina's Charleston Harbor. The first engagement of the war ended in rebel victory. The surrender concluded a standoff that began with South Carolina's secession from the Union December 20th, 1860. Immediately after Abraham Lincoln becomes president, is elected president, the Confederates decided that if they were to truly be their own independent country, that they could not tolerate another country having a military fort within their borders. They originally wanted to starve the fort without violence, but when still President Buchanan ordered the resupply of Fort Sumter by Navy in January, this was seen as an aggressive move. Later, when President-elect Abraham Lincoln is actually sworn in and becomes the actual president, when President Lincoln then sends word to Charleston in early April that he planned, now that he's president, to send food to the garrison, the Confederates took action, basically saying, Buchanan tried that. We didn't like it. We saw that as aggressive. Don't do it again. Abraham Lincoln becomes president, immediately says, I'm doing it again. So the Confederates say, no, you're not. They opened fire on the fort in the pre-dawn of April 12th. Over the next day, nearly 4,000 rounds were fired at Fort Sumter. Inside Sumter was its commander, Major Robert Anderson, 9 officers, 68 enlisted men, 8 musicians, and 43 construction workers. Under Captain Abner Doubleday, he returned fire nearly 2 hours after the barrage began. By the morning of April 13th, the garrison in Sumter was in dire straits. The soldiers had sustained only minor injuries, but they could not hold out for much longer. The fort was badly damaged, and the Confederate shots were becoming much more precise. Around noon, the flagpole was shot away. Louis Wigfall from Texas rode out without permission to see if the garrison was still trying to surrender. Anderson decided that further resistance was futile, and he ran a white flag up a makeshift flagpole. The first engagement of the war was over, and the only actual casualty had been a horse, a Confederate horse. The Union force was allowed to leave for the north. Before leaving, though, the soldiers fired a 100-gun salute. During the salute, 1 soldier was killed and another mortally wounded by a prematurely exploding cartridge. The Civil War had officially begun. South Carolina seceded within 4 days of Lincoln's election. Alabama, Mississippi, Florida, Georgia, Louisiana, and Texas joined within 6 weeks. 4 more states would join after Fort Sumter. The first 7 would meet in Montgomery, Alabama in February of 1861, while Buchanan was still technically president, to establish the Confederate States of America. And Jefferson Davis, son-in-law of Zachary Taylor, the 12th president, of whom, when secession was talked about when Zachary Taylor was president, he said, well, I'll go down there and hang him, starting with my son-in-law, Jefferson Davis. Yeah, he is named president of the Confederacy. I hope you're learning, and I hope you're having fun.